Hello and welcome back. My name is Faye and you're with your Heart's Path. We're going to have a look at the month of March. There's some psychic and intuitive messages to pass on to you that you can help empower you this month. We've got some interesting energy to explore. I had some dot points of things yesterday, some information sort of dropped in over the last week, and I looked at it this morning and I just had this feeling like this isn't resonating with me. So I'm going to kind of move in a new direction. I've set an intention to bring a bit more of a positive swing into some of the darker aspects of this human experience that you're already well aware of. I do really feel like I'm going to draw this back into you and your individual path, and where there is room for empowerment, how we can manage some of these sort of more micro challenges and kind of just get a better understanding of the collective atmosphere as we move into the month. So I'm going to start right here. We've had a lot of momentum. I'm going to say excitement. I feel like for a lot of you in your bodies, kind of come the end of January, February sort of became this month where I was like one giant big ending. It was just like a kind of a month. Like, I'm just going to put all these pieces aside. I'm going to sit back. Not a feeling of give up, but almost just like I'm exhausted. I need to stop. So for some of you might sort of be recovering. I am from just like a bit of physical virus, forced sort of stopped experiences. And I think for others, you've just been so eager to really just move, being a sensitive being with a different current. You can almost imagine that like in the ocean, kind of catching a ride to your new destination. And instead of swimming against the rip, it was kind of just this feeling of like, all right, I'm just going to go with the flow and see where I end up. With that, I feel like there's been some encouragement internally, or even just some, excitement and some optimism that from this more relaxed state of being, perhaps we're not totally relaxed yet, but with less resistance because we're not swimming against the stream, there is this feeling that even though we might have expected things to be kind of like rock and roll moving forward right now, whilst these challenges and micro ones at that are surfacing, the way we're managing and handling those, to me, feels like there's a lack of stress. We do certainly have a choice. If you're someone that's feeling like super pent up and you've been nudged by the universe to start to, go within and work on yourself, and there's particular areas or topics that continue to surface and you haven't had the resources to be able to transform that, this is kind of your tipping point. I almost feel like divine intervention. It's kind of one of those times, because that new destination, that it's inevitable. Like, no one is not going through some form of change right now. We can't actually resist this change. It's actually really challenging to completely disconnect to this right now. But if there's something that you've been forcing, pushing, resisting for a really long time, this is kind of like the tipping point. By no means do I say that from a space of fear. It's actually like, it's one of those things that'll end up being a blessing in the future. But it's a really nice time too, if you are kind of finding, like little challenges surface, things that feel out of your control, but you seem to be managing and responding from a space that is a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more whole. There's kind of just a feeling of like going with the flow. What I do like about this as well is that what I see kind of being animated here in this moment, and some of you have already had this realization in the last couple of weeks, some of you are going to feel this flicker kind of coming on in the next couple of weeks. It's like the match has been sparked, and we have this, like the spark. Some of you are feeling like you've got your spark back. Some of you are in that space where you're kind of starting to create a new environment so that we can get this fire going. We obviously have this transition into the fire horse, and I feel for some of you, we kind of were expecting this like, all right, we turn a corner, let's go. It's all going to be rainbows and butterflies. And I think that was, a little bit of, hope and optimism is a really beautiful thing. But the road still feels a little bumpy. It's just that the way that we're responding to this experience, it feels like we're taking it a little less personally. I think we can get curious with this, and where there are kind of delays or where we might previously sort of feel resistant to life, we're in the moment knowing I can just exhale with this. Oh, it's cool. I'll just take a break with this. We're sort of not giving so much power to time. That's almost like the feeling here. Like what's meant to be will be. But by no means does that mean that I'm just going to sit off the side of my life and watch things unfold. I really want to start to steer which direction it is that I'm going in. And so there's this kind of lovely relationship here where the spark comes back online, and so we start to feel a little bit more vitality and energy in the body. Now, I think there's some really beautiful and important threads here. Last year was such an intense experience for most people. I just say last year is a bit of a chapter. The cycle we've completed when it comes to relational energy with you and one other person. For some of you, this manifests just with a business partner. For others, it was with romantic relationships, or a relationship with the mother, a relationship with the father, these sort of more a best friend. We can have these sort of dynamics where it's you and one other person, where we went through some form of karmic evolution. And what happens with that energy and that frequency, where we've made a change, you've had to let something go. For some of you, it's even been like a death in the family. For others, it's sort of like a loss of that relationship or how things used to be. I'm sort of starting to begin to see that this spark that's ignited gives us the opportunity to start to culminate or cultivate a relationship, first and most importantly with yourself, but also the way that you're relating to others is beginning to change. I really love this because I feel for some of you, you're going to go through a period where you're like, oh, I've got energy. I'm so excited. Like, I'm just going to funnel all of this into my art. I'm going to write poetry. I've got this opportunity, because you've had that sort of like feeling like you've been forcing to just, stay afloat for quite some time. You become almost more protective over your life force. It's not aggressive. It's actually more of this feeling of like, I'm protecting my peace. So this kind of a feeling. I've talked about this hand motion and movement. If you're listening on Spotify, I'm just kind of putting my hand out, almost like stop in front of me. I kind of feel like our boundaries are a little bit firmer now. I do think that there are a lot of conversations around merging. We're having a better understanding about our auric field, how our thoughts affect reality, how our emotions are affecting our placement in a more of a vertical position. And instead of spreading ourselves out super thin, I just feel like there's this absolute refinement here. So it's actually a really lovely time to consciously sit down with you and one other person and have beautiful, deep conversations, and almost starting to weave those lovely threads of, it's almost conversations around conception. So conversations around business ideas. We're in this manifestation space of bringing new energy, words and language to the divine masculine, the divine feminine, or to me, it's like this would be on a really physical level. This would be like having a conversation with your partner about do we or don't we want to have a child, or are we preparing the body and the being to have a child. It's also new business sort of relations, so conversations about projects, collaborating one-on-one. This would be a time about talking to one other person to get support with something that you see happening in the future. So what I love about this is that spark, it's like we treasure this right now. Like we treasure our own energy a little bit more. So it's kind of, we're having a better understanding about our capacity. What we notice with this too is like it's so in the face around moments where we're responding from a space of love, or where we go to respond or react from fear, and in that time it's like space sort of slows down, and we have this ample opportunity to apply the wisdom that we that surfaced in this space, where I kind of feel like we tried to carry too much last year. We tried to carry too much with a pace that felt like we were sort of moving through thick sand. And now that we've got this movement and we have a little bit of new direction, we're finding that that flame or that spark grows bigger and becomes more sustainable when we're making decisions, when we're choosing love, when we're choose to protect our peace versus compromise it, is that we almost get like a little influx of energy, and it's kind of like a quick reward. It kind of feels like it gives you the motivation to continue to listen to your body's wisdom. And speaking to that, I feel like the body is talking louder than ever. And these sort of states, I've noticed this, I spoke to it yesterday a little bit with things like social media. I just noticed where I was kind of going into like a haze. I almost see like this feeling of like waking from a haze, waking from a trance, waking from a deep sleep, a new wave of awakening that kind of has us going like almost intolerable of what starts to leak or drain our attention and our energy. And I didn't feel like I had the discipline to say like no to my personal social media and going into these spaces, even if I was just there for a laugh or whatever it is. I actually started to notice where chemically that was having a bit of an effect on my overall well-being, and I attempted and set intentions to read more books and take time off, but then I'd go to check an email or check a thing, and it was kind of this like unconscious behavior that was happening where I kind of found myself checking out multiple times a day. We actually feel that this is intolerable right now. It's almost at its peak. I can see a lot of people getting off social media at this time. I can see a lot of people that have a business page getting rid of all of their personal stuff because they're spread too thin. And I believe that this is a really positive thing because it starts to refine and bring conscious awareness and care to our usage, to the types of information that we're letting move through the system. And there are going to be great conversations around, nervous system care. So if you do have knowledge in that area, if you're equipped to speak to burnout, if you have tools, techniques, people are hungry for this right now. We have this new wave of awakening. So those that have felt limited by their understanding or the physical plane even, you're going to have this huge big wave of beautiful people that are in a space where they want support and help. So I would always imagine like yoga studios and things having a bit of a boost right now. It's a lovely time just to share, and I kind of feel like the sparkly stuff is sort of dropping away. I can see this of like, if you like make a reel, I do this too, right? You make like a beautiful video and then you add like the filter and then the music comes in and it kind of creates this like perfect little scene. But if you break it down, what we're more interested in is almost like the process. I'd say like I want the raw unfiltered stuff right now, because our like radar for truth, our radar for authenticity is where we have that safe space to protect our peace, as that kind of vibration of secrecy, of manipulation, of glamour, of illusion, of conversations coming from fear. It kind of just feels like a high-pitched scream in the back of the head, and it almost just becomes indigestible through this period. So protect your peace, take time alone if that means that you're still in a process of kind of getting to know yourself. And look, there are always layers to that, but I sort of feel for some of you, you're kind of giving yourself this opportunity to like deeply reflect, to ask those big questions. Who am I? What is it that I want? What do I, contribution is a huge part of this conversation. And I do kind of sense for those of you who haven't been feeling like you've had a lot of inspiration to respond to because you've been dismantling the structures that create your reality, or you've been moving home, or you've been adjusting to life as a single person, it's kind of this time where lovely synchronicities, even if they're micro, can give you these huge big boosts of inspiration. That in those moments, I want you to pay attention to the visions that are connected to that inspiration, because that's sort of the direction in which you're heading in. And for some of you, this is going to be a year where the direction isn't about expansion into the horizontal space or becoming bigger and wider and taking up more room. It's about refining your direction to that more horizontal position where your relationship with Source or God, Creator, Higher Self is sort of becomes priority. And so conversations with a higher power, trust in a higher power, these are sort of like the medicine that kind of gives the antidote to every layer of the being. But this physical body piece to me just seems fascinating. I kind of feel like people are going to be more invested in their physical health and well-being. I believe that this is a time where we're going to find out more data and information on particular supplements that we might be taking, some of which have no purpose for you. Some of the, it's kind of like we could find the missing link right here. I feel like there's an emphasis on breath, like slow and right down so that we can speed up. And that's funny because that reminds me of the cowboy archetype that I wanted to explore today. There's three patterns perhaps that I've been seeing in readings one-on-one. The first is that I'd love to share with you. We can explore a little bit and then I'll bring in a couple of more tiddly bits and we'll close it over for today. But one of these scenes that I've seen in almost everybody's reading over the last month is this scene where the jungle meets the meadow or like a hinterland or a big open paddock, and there's this feeling of coming out of the jungle and standing in this big open wide space. Now, this scenery in itself is something that's really super beautiful. I really love landscapes. I love the backdrops in people's readings. It speaks worlds to me. It can really help us have a bit of an understanding of the atmosphere, but also kind of what part of our being and reality we are currently exploring. So when I look at the jungle, I look at a period of time of deep introspection. I'm looking at soul, I'm looking at karma, I'm looking at healing, I'm looking at remedies, I'm looking at being super present, I'm looking at the lower astral in some sense, animals, kind of navigating. I mean, imagine putting yourself in the middle of the Amazon. If you didn't have the tools and the resources, it becomes a really tricky time. If we gather and collect those resources with our beautiful discipline, we're actually almost become a part of the ecosystem, and there's a place for you within the jungle, and you're able to navigate it and become a part of something that not only allows for you to thrive or survive, but you are able to thrive. It's interesting to me because the jungle would normally teeter into like, it would feel more natural to teeter into like a river, some kind of, versus this kind of huge transition of things feeling kind of dense and moist and lots of protection, lots of overarching, overhanging trees, lots of shade, less light. Coming into this big, bright, open space where it can feel super expansive, even a little bit dry, and kind of going, I'm not really sure what direction to go in. And this is sort of the energy that I kind of feel like we're going into. Even though I've described you sort of floating in the ocean, this is kind of like a current or a tide or a direction that we're following. But when I really see the landscape behind the scenery through the month of March, I kind of feel like we're walking across a dry kind of grass. And this big open space, depending for you what you can kind of sense in that environment there might be mountains. It kind of feels like there's this transition time. This is where I want to bring in the archetype of the cowboy. I really feel like with the year of the horse, we've been a bit narrow-minded in kind of just reading that energy. We're kind of attached to this like fast-paced action. We want to see change. We want things to feel better. All of this is kind of coming, but there's this period here where your skill set or your ability to be able to get on top of the horse and ride, making that journey a little bit more easeful for you, is going to be different depending on where you are in your evolution. So there's this kind of like refinement process, even though I'm doing a collective reading here, where I really want you to have a look and be super honest with like where you're actually at. Some of you are going to be thrown on top of the horse like barebacked, and you're going to have to hold on for your dear life because things are going to speed up so quickly, and you can have such beautiful change that you're kind of just like, what the hell just happened to my life? And others are gonna feel like you're still kind of trying to get on top of the back of the horse. Others are in a space where you're kind of slowing down, you're brushing, you're getting to know this new energy as a different kind of rhythm builds inside of the system. But there's almost this feeling with all of this like we're still in preparation mode for the actual change. And this is really interesting to me because I feel like the cowboy is kind of an archetype that we don't see all the time. Well, I don't here in Tasmania. You have to go out further. We're looking at farming. There are conversations around cattle, the bull. I almost feel like this Taurus energy, like, you know, gaining that momentum and finding that rhythm as you hold on to the horns of the bull. And, you know, once you're on your way and you find that gallop, you're actually, there's this sense of like, oh, everything's going to be okay. But we need to be really mindful at the moment that the steps that we're taking, you know, the company that we're keeping, that it all becomes very intentional, that we're responding from a space of love. And the horse is such a magical and mystical and beautiful creature. But it takes there's a reflection element here. And I haven't really spent a lot of time with horses, but I've listened to conversations with people that have worked with them. They've shown up in my mystical experiences and offered soul retrieval type sessions for me out of the blue. They've been a big representation of freedom, but I also feel like there's conversations and solutions that come from this energy that humanity has been crying out for. And I don't feel like we almost have the answers to some of those experiences yet. I feel like horses too have been mistreated when it comes to gambling and the financial type systems. I think we're going to see some big shifts and changes there. I do feel like there's been it's like, what else does the horse sort of have to say? This mirroring aspect. And again, this has only been shared with me when people spend time with horses. But if you're feeling ashamed and insecure and all alone and you stand in front of a horse, it's going to mirror that energy and those emotions back to you. If you have a sense of safety, this horse is going to come with a sense of safety. But there's kind of like a dance whilst we figure that part out, whilst we come into alignment. And this is really about choosing your path. I'm going to say that the horse can almost represent something greater than what we are. But I also believe that with this, it's kind of does have this conversation around collaboration or a co-creation and not really having huge amounts of choice as to change a movement forward. And there are different ways in which you can make this easier for yourself by being honest, by being super clear, by choosing to protect your peace, and with this beautiful flame, with this beautiful fire, to still be able to create pockets of calmness and balancing that fire heat element out with water, soothing, intuition, listening, even utilizing water as an ability to kind of cleanse through our filters, through our systems. It kind of feels to me like we're restoring balance here before kind of finding that rhythm and, you know, really feeling like we're in a new direction. So I do kind of sense we're on our way there. Is there anything else that I'd seen? I did say there was 3 things, but there's only 2. I wanted to talk to the cowboy archetype. Third thing is that I have seen archetypal shifts and changes for people. So it's been a big time of contracts ending. That means that like there's closure for a lot of you. It's almost like you get freed because you've recognized the truth. You're freed because you've seen the truth. You feel more yourself, more in your own skin. You're listening to your body more easily. There's less fear of your emotions. There's clearer boundaries when it comes to capacity for holding others, for showing up for others, for, you know, even just your relationships with your children. It kind of feels like priorities have shifted a little bit and changed here. And I think that that's all really beautiful, but some of that has to do with the archetypal shift and change. This is like that dramatic change from like mother to crone. I've seen transitions like mother. There's a big lot of conversations around mother, from mother to the star. I feel like some people have become like step parents because new relationships started or have eventuated, where the roles are sort of changing here. And I did kind of mention some conversations around relationships with the mother and the father having gone through huge amounts of healing, where your perception of those people or those relationships creates a contract finished. You've learnt the lesson, and so there's room and space for a different expression to come in. And that contract here feels like it offers a brand new experience. So this is like you waking up and feeling like I'm sick of, not taking care of my body, and I'm going to go and join a gym. And all of a sudden the yogic archetype gets activated inside of you, whereas you've been more of a movie buff or a foodie. I kind of feel like there's almost like the absolute parallel or the absolute switch kind of taking place here. Some of you are going to start to recognize and realize that you've got a really beautiful gift and talent, and you're starting to take that more seriously, and you're prepared to have a part-time job in order to keep that flame alive internally. So we could be doing a bit of a dance here. If you've been feeling stressed and pressured because you're running a business, you might look at part-time and then doing something else that balances that out, that helps it feel easier. Okay. There is a move coming for a lot of you partway through the year. And so some of you are kind of in that space in between where, again, you kind of feel like I'm in a void, I'm kind of waiting, I've entered out into this big open field and nothing's quite shown up yet. I want to give you the encouragement just to be with a space of peace, to practice silence, to refine your skills, to go deeply into meditation, not to attach to vision, not to attach to the future, even to attach to movement and this constant evolution. We really want to harness presence and this deep sense of embodiment and this newfound relationship, in a sense, with the physical body, knowing more about what it wants to eat, what vitamins are working, what's not, what information is resonating with you, what isn't. We have this like more discernment when it comes to the physical body. And I do love this for you. I feel like everybody's worked really hard. There's elements of things that have been happening very privately in your life that I feel like you've been holding. And it might be a nice time to, put some of those pieces down. We've let go. And I do kind of feel like the first couple of weeks of March can still kind of feel like we're in that snaky energy. You can always feel like little bits of skin still kind of falling off. And we've got to grow legs in order to become the horse. I want you to think about that. There's like a metamorphosis that needs to take place. We actually saw a snake. I've never seen a snake in the wild, but I saw one. I have actually, but not for a long time. Not since this chapter of my life. But it was a teeny tiny little one, just skirted across the path when we were doing a bit of a hike the other day. I felt so excited about it. Whereas once upon a time I would have been absolutely shit scared and I would have wanted to run the other way. And I kind of feel like that's the flip side of our experience symbolically at the moment. So we do kind of have this, like, there's a lot of light on the horizon, even though the earth is shuddering, there is change, there is conflict. Be in your prayers with that space. It's so important for all of you that we don't get bogged down and add to the fear. I know that can seem like a bypass at times, but, truly, I believe that we can contribute to the collective consciousness and to the direction we all move in sounds like almost awful to say it out loud, but I'm going to, because I think it's important to be grateful for what's already in your life, for having a roof over your head, for having access to food, to stay light, to use that lovely energy that you do have to state prayers for those who are struggling and suffering and don't have that safety that you currently have access to, instead of feeding it more fear, feeding it more worry. I really do believe in the power of prayer. Get together with groups, be really intentional. It's a lovely time for ritual. For some of you, you are in this space where you're not really sure what happens next or what comes next. And there are others that are still just kind of chipping away, quietly. And I think for you, you're going to get that momentum in the direction that you've been going in. Others are going to really start to notice their mastery. Like a lot of you have been in practice with your spiritual journey for years and years and years. And so it might be more visibility for you. It could feel like an expansion. I do kind of sense that this is a year of abundance for people. So a lovely time to think about planting veggie patches and really weaving in contribution and what value we're offering the world when it comes to our presence, when it comes to our relationships. And I really feel like we thrive when we're in our softness with some of this energy. And with that, I'm going to just pause. Okay. the other pattern that I've been seeing, and some of this feels like it's men. There's conversations around men. I've noted that the woman's work that I've been doing is opening the door to men. I've had other conversations with other business owners that have kind of are just having conversations with their brothers, with their friends that are curious now. Women have spent the last little while, and we are as a whole, men and women, the feminine inside of us, calling back our power. And with that, there's a shake-up, right? There's a recognition we can't do anybody else's work for them. We can certainly support each other and be really transparent and share resources and tools. But it feels to me like there are more men joining the party, taking responsibility. Some because they've lost something. Some because they can feel the change now in their bodies. They're less in their heads. They're connecting down with their lower bellies, and they can feel this rumbling. Everybody can feel this change. Everybody can feel that we're going into a new time. There's a lot of unknown, or not a lot of unpredictability, and I feel like people want to feel safe and confident and empowered in this time. So I think that's actually really cool. I think it should be celebrated. You might find if you're working one-on-one with people to support them in their spiritual journey, if you do have a spiritual business or you're just in the health and wellness industry, that you might find that your clientele begins to open up to more men, which I think is really beautiful. Nice to make specific offerings for them at this time as well. But yeah, find your pace, pick your pace. We do want an element of calm with this movement forward. Treasure this lovely spark that's come back online. Have conversations with the archetype or just the expression, the animal of the horse. Get to know fire, because this is part of our backdrop. Things can burn down really quickly. We can become burnt out really fast. And so we really need to address our ability to cultivate, I'm going to say to command or to invoke. We have room here to co-create a safer, more loving place on earth and respond to this current chaos with a bit more wholeness and grace than what we might previously have had the capacity for. All right, everybody, it's lovely to catch up with you. I intend to see you next month in April, when I will be launching the House of Mystics 5.0 to start in July, which is very exciting. I have a very full wait list, which I'm super excited about. It doesn't mean that everybody is going to join. If you're not on the wait list, you can do that through my website. If you're on my wait list, you will be offered into the course first. There is a capacity with how many students I can take through this journey at any one time. And then enrollments will be open until late June to start in July. So I'm really super excited about that. I have delayed the retreat that I had initially intended to run in April. It is looking like it's going to be happening in September. And this is going to be some of the House of Mystics material, but a lot of sort of partner exercises and things where we get to explore our energy and really focus on intimacy and self-love and connection. And, it's going to feel really deeply nourishing. And I do believe that our capacity is going to have shifted towards the end of the year, where that social piece comes in to soothe some of the loneliness and the hermetism that a lot of you that are awakening have been experiencing. Alas, I'll see you next month. Take care, be kind to yourselves, and I'll see you soon. With love.